Peter was working as a truck driver and his wife, Barbara, gave birth while he was away. He arrived a few days later and immediately went to the maternity ward. There, he learned that his wife had left their newborn twins, saying that even their eldest son was a burden to her. This despicable behavior by his wife just left him stunned and irritated. Peter ran home. Barbara was not there. She had packed her things and left. She placed her eldest son, who was only 5 years old, with Peter's elderly grandmother. So Peter was left alone with 3 small children in his arms. He needed to work for a living, so he had to hire a nanny. He decided to look for neighbors he knew well to help take care of the children. Across the street lived a 25-year-old woman named Grace, who worked as a nanny in a kindergarten. After much discussion, she agreed to take care of their 3 children. At first, Grace stayed with the children from morning until late at night, but as the babies needed constant care and supervision, Peter insisted that Grace move into his house to be closer to the children. At first it was very difficult for Grace. She even wanted to quit a couple of times, because a 5-year-old and 2 babies required too much attention. But gradually she got used to the children. When Peter returned home from a long trip, he and Grace and the children spent all their time together, playing with the little ones, discussing shopping for the children's needs, and cooking meals together. They were having fun. And so it happened that one morning, Peter and Grace woke up in the same bed. And a month later they got married. By that time, Peter had already divorced Barbara and gotten permanent custody of the children. Parents and friends tried to get Grace to give up, saying Peter didn't love her. But Grace already liked the boys so much and she liked Peter, and believed that he would love and not abandon their 3 children. But the good life didn't work out. Peter completely stopped helping with the housework and the children, and started drinking from time to time. He was traveling more frequently and spending less and less time at home. Grace had to beg for money, even for diapers and fruit. When she tried to complain, all she got in return was an offer to pack her bags and leave the house if she didn't like something. But she couldn't do that because she had become madly attached to the children. So 2 years passed. One day Peter came back from a trip and after dinner, he told Grace that he had another woman and that she was pregnant. Grace was hurt by those words. Tears streamed down her face. But she was more concerned about the fate of her children. But their father didn't care about the boys. Peter at that time just asked for a divorce. He was ready to leave the children to her. He would let Grace adopt the kids and never tell them that Grace wasn't their mother. In return, she promised that she would never say anything bad about their father to the children. They divorced quickly and quietly. Peter gave permission for her to adopt the boys and left the house. Grace told the children that their father had gone to great lengths to build houses for poor people, to prevent the children from accidentally finding out from neighbors that she was not their biological mother. Grace sold the house and they moved to another neighborhood. Grace was a hairdresser by training and began cutting hair in her new location, first for her neighbors and then for acquaintances, on their recommendation. What was she good at? People were looking for her and she had more and more clients. Now she was earning enough money for everything she needed. Grace and the children didn't expect anything from Peter, and he didn't try to participate in their lives. The woman didn't even know where he was. The important thing was that the children were with her. The family's favorite activity was making up funny stories. Grace would write them down in a notebook, dreaming that someday her adult children would read them to their children, remembering those happy, carefree nights. As the years passed, the eldest son married and gave Grace a grandson and a granddaughter, and the twins were still in college. On weekends, the whole family would get together, cook something delicious and sometimes read stories to the mother, having fun like children. One of the weekends coincided with the twins' birthday. The party was held in the courtyard. The men were roasting meat outside, and the youngest children's girlfriends were setting the table. Grace leaned against the door and thought how happy she was. She didn't notice an old, unkempt-looking man who had entered the gate and was scanning the house as if looking for someone. But after he asked aloud why no one was meeting her father, Grace realized it was Peter. She watched in horror as Peter demanded respect for himself in a drunken voice. When he unceremoniously tried to hug his youngest children, they quickly backed away from him. Then the eldest son could not stand it and told Peter everything he thought of him and that he, his brothers, only respected their mother and thanked her for the years she devoted to raising them while he had disappeared into the world and never came to see them. Peter interrupted the son and told him that Grace was not their mother, but just the nanny from the house next door that he had hired, because the mother herself had abandoned them all. Grace felt as if her world had collapsed. She couldn't look at him anymore and ran into the house. She went to the room where her grandchildren were sleeping peacefully. He sat beside them and wept, thinking that his happy life was over. Suddenly, the door opened silently. Through her tears, Grace saw 3 handsome grown men, her children. They were looking at her and smiling. And one of them had his book in his hands. He handed the book to Grace, and on the last page it was written in large letters. And they lived happily ever after because their mother, the most beloved and best mother in the world, was with them. If you liked Grace's story, leave a like, comment what you thought. See you later.